Hi, everybody. This is Chloe with World Peace Projects. So I just wanted to hop on here and share what I just got in my own meditation with self. And for whoever just hopped on, can you let me know that you can hear me and everything's good? And let me know too, if you would. I've got a little bit of background music, so if that's disturbing, please maybe message me and tell me if noise is okay, because I'm playing a little bit of solfeggio frequencies. So I'll give it just a couple minutes for a few more people to pop on. Thank you so much for joining me. And I just, came out of a meditation I was doing with self. And I want to share some insights that I just realized. Hi, guys. Okay, cool. Thanks, both of you. Jesse, good to see you. Soul grouping, thank you for coming on. Okay, cool. So I don't know if y'all caught it. Hi, Christiana. But I did a public live with Lauda Leon a few days ago. And the astrology energy peaked on March 31st with some chaotic frequencies, okay? Now, after that live, hi, Agent Fox Scully. After that live, after a conversation that I had with Lauda, I don't know if some of y'all saw the post that I put up around the monies, around the funding. I went into a really deep heartbreak energy. And I've been processing that for, it's only the second, so I guess not even 2 days, a day and a half. It triggered because of the deep sorrow I had and excitedly sharing the information around the grants, hoping that would help because it was super time sensitive. In doing that so quick on an impulse without really checking in around the energy of it, and then kind of double backing and registering like, oh, hold up now. We all know that the governments are doing some funny things. Hi, Aegis. I felt like maybe that would lead some of us into signing agreements, as we know about contractual agreements, that might not be exactly where we want to align with. So anyway, that was the impulse around it. And for those who haven't seen it, on that post on the community board, I offered a downloadable PDF, which I actually emailed to SBA, the government. And it is a piecemealed declaration, and I do not consent, clarifying what any agreement that you might make is actually agreeing to and what it's not agreeing to. So it's opting you out of the hidden agendas they might tie into that. So anyway, that brought up a lot of emotion that I've been processing, and I'm aware, as a lot of us are aware, that we're currently in 13 days of what I'd like to call a global dark night of the soul. And a lot of us think about, you can mail that to them. Yes, absolutely. I'm actually going to mail before Soul Schooling just says, so you can actually mail this to them. Yes, you can email it, you can mail them. I emailed it, and then I got an auto response like, thank you for your email. If you're wanting to get a hold of us further, blah, blah, blah. So it may be better to physically mail that, but they'll get it quicker if you email it. Before I left the US and came to Canada, I had applied for TSA PreCheck. And I got there and I knew, what I was doing. But as soon as you got to give them your fingerprints for the FBI, I was like, oh no, it's happening, right? So when I went online yesterday to email them this, the PDF that I wrote out, the declaration, it kept bouncing it kept erroring. So I'm going to have to physically mail that in. Which is probably better because then somebody actually got it. Agent Fox Scully says, thank you. I had a question about the no consent issue recently in my own musings for later me. You guys are welcome to ask questions. Please feel free to pop your questions in there. I just really wanted to hop on while this download of information was fresh so I could get it to you guys. So feel free, please, to ask questions, make comments, and I'll answer them as long as I see them. So anyhow, yeah, absolutely. Physical mailing is probably way better, but the quicker, if you want immediate, is emailing. So anyhow, but back to my point is that instigated this heartbreak energy that I know now I'm also emoting and tapping into mass consciousness, as a lot of us are. A lot of us are feeling our own personal experiences. We're tapping into the mass consciousness of the emotions. And then we're also responding and letting the mass consciousness emotions impose into our field. So there's a few different things that are happening, and it's good to when we can be aware of that and take care around how much of our feelings are kind of bleed through into our field from mass consciousness, because that's okay, though that is showing us that we can gently start to recommand our energetics, push the energy back out of your field, command your space, and witness for mass consciousness and what's happening. Hold your space of where you desire to be, allowing your emotions and witnessing, and showing by example how to ground and run your energy. I know that Jesse and Christiana, who are on the live right now, participated in the Advanced Matrix Decoding course. And I gifted you guys a portion of that. So in the class, I think that was class 3, at the end of the class, I took us through a healing that I posted as a gift onto YouTube. And it was the last healing I posted, where we did a healing for mass consciousness. And the big piece of that was witnessing. It was like, I'm witnessing, I'm not healing mass consciousness for them. I'm not doing it for them, but I'm observing what's happening, and I'm showing by example how mass consciousness can run the energy, can clear, can tap in. So anyhow, it's good to do your own clearing and grounding, and then offer that up to mass consciousness or whomever you're focused on, your loved ones, whatnot, and say, you can do this too. Look, this is how I'm running my energy. This is how I'm healing. You're welcome to do this as well. I'm showing you how it's done. Lead by example. I'm going to get to some questions real quick. Okay, Agent Fox Scully says, the issue of the unconscious not registering negatives. I'm not clear on what you mean. Can you say that in a more concise sentence? Because I don't understand what you're conveying on that. Soul schooling, sorry, I keep saying that wrong. What references are there about the 13 days of dark night? Thank you. Okay, so that's my term, guys. I'm terming this the 13 days of the dark night of the soul. And I want to be clear on that, because a lot of us perceive dark night of the soul as negative, and painful and uncomfortable. It's actually a really enlightening time. So I know that Magenta Pixie posted, I think her last channeling, they termed it something else. I think she termed it the 3 days of darkness, something like that. But I'm terming this, 13 days of dark night of the soul, because, and this might sound counterintuitive when I explain it, so just bear with me. Though, in general, as a lot of us know, the dark night of the soul is something that we experience our whole life in different ways. It's like layers of an onion. As we're going in to access our subconscious and purge via shadow work and clear, because we have to clear and do our shadow work in order to up level and elevate, right? So we dive into the dark in order to reveal the light. I'm going to say it like that. So we've been forced into 13 days of a dark night of the soul right now from, external world current events, okay? So this is a very, very powerful time to access truth, to access your knowing, to clear what's not truth, and to get really clear on interference, AI tech, entities, beings coming in, because there's a lot of them. And I'm going to explain in my perspective of what's going on, what I was just shown in my own healing space. I just pulled myself out of a healing. So, and this might kind of jump around a little bit, guys, because I just came, so I haven't had a lot of time to really cohesively formulate it in a way that I can articulate it very clearly, but I'll do my best. So if we back out into a more macro understanding and look at a lot of how we know that one way that the controllers communicate through the predictive programming is coded, right? And one way in which we gather a lot of this information is watching media, watching music, listening to music, watching music videos, watching movies, things like that. Look at the coding. George Leone on Sovereign Key has done a great job of decoding a lot of media, music videos, you name it. A lot of people have, but I'm going to use him as a reference because his videos are the ones that come to mind right now. So he's done a ton of decoding around basically the Red Bulls, right? Okay, now we know also that corporations even name through decoding, right? We look at, example, Red Bull right now. So the two Red Bulls are Jupiter and Saturn, Red Bulls clashing. Okay, so now in that, even in the logo, it's two Red Bulls clashing head to head. So this represents a celestial battle that plays out in the cosmos where Jupiter and Saturn ultimately are going to have a face-off. Now, I just lost my train of thought. Hold on, let me get back to it. Shoot, they took it. Sometimes I'll be talking and then I feel like it gets taken. I was talking about decoding. I was talking about Jupiter. Damn it. Okay, I'm gonna come back to it. It'll pop back in, but damn, that sucks. Okay, anyway, so the 13 days of darkness. Oh, okay, that's where I was going. Now, we just had a massive conjunction with Jupiter that happened that I just mentioned on March 31st. And most of us know, too, that the astrology here, it's already started a while ago, but through the next 10 years is just unprecedented. We're going to be experiencing things that we haven't ever experienced in our lifetime and, hasn't been for a very, very long time. So Jupiter this is where I was going. Jupiter as a representation also. So the Jesus Christ that's portrayed in the Bible, right? How they've taken the Christed man that I've often referred to as Yeshua. I know that Lauda and George refer to it as Isa, and I mention that because a lot of you guys that I've turned on to the spiritual warfare declaration, Isa is the name used for the Christ in that declaration. But in the Bible, they've taken the man who came in Christed form, that was a very benevolent being, mind you, and they've manipulated it as usual. They've inverted the story for their gain. Okay. Now, we also know that a lot of story in the Bibles, even though they're portrayed as humans, are allegory. So the story in the Bible is just one version of how this is offered as allegory through many different religions and many different cultures and many different societies throughout many different time periods, okay? So I'm just using that one because I was raised Catholic and a lot of my reference is going to go back to that, So Jesus Christ, we're coming up onto the memorial celebration of Easter, where the story that Jesus Christ of the Bible was crucified and had a 3 days, moved through a resurrection. Okay. Now, this is a cycle that's playing out astrologically with Jupiter. So every year, and I'm not an astrologer, I can't say this as well. If somebody is an astrologer here and you can say this a bit more eloquently, please do so. But what we're about to move into is the 3 days, I believe it's like Lent to Easter, is the actual astrological resurrection, or excuse me, crucifixion, and then resurrection that goes through as the planet Jupiter. Correct me if I'm wrong, okay? So it's an actual astrological experience that happens every year. It's a very powerful time, okay? Now, sorry, I'm just trying to read and talk at the same time, so sometimes it gets a little bit off. I'm going to pause there. Actually, I'm going to make sure I don't miss too many of y'all's questions. So we're pausing on the understanding of resurrection, crucifixion, and resurrection. Christiana says, should we not fill out the 2020 census? It says on the notices I get that it's the law and they might eventually send someone to get the info they need. Sorry if that's off topic. I don't know about the 2020 census yet. God, the census, they annoy the crap out of me because, as I've spoken of, and I think with you guys in the course, I don't know if I've talked about this on YouTube, is the new currency of information mining, right? Like the new tech currency of our data and how that is selling our soul in such a big way. And that's what the census is, right? So, again, as I stated, Christiana, in the post, is we all have to navigate maritime law in these governmental bodies. So we don't want to put ourselves in situations where we're not going to do something because we know it is imposing onto our soul and our will, but at the same time, if we don't do it, we're going to face 3D repercussions where they might come get you and penalize you, or even go to some extreme and make you an example and take you to jail. So, again, with that, you have to do what you know is best for you. But that was why my current solution is in writing. Like, okay, if let's use the census as an example, because you're asking about that. You fill out the census, and then in writing, maybe attached to it, right? You clarify through your declaration that you're only giving this information to be accessed for these reasonings and these reasonings alone, which are usually the reasonings in which they tell you they're doing it anyway. But we all know there's a lot more agendas around it, right? So if you have to do something, or you choose, it's all a choice. If you choose to do something that you're not happy with because you know the underlying agendas around it, utilize these I do not consents and these declarations as written and signed to assist yourself in clarifying what you do agree to and what you don't, right? And where this information is allowed to go as per the law of your authority and where it's not. So that even though we know that they're going to use that information, the karmic load that they accumulate has been clarified and magnified. So it absolutely plays out. Right? This is the whole thing, because they're still going to do it. They're still going to push the agendas. They're still going to do whatever they want to do. But you've clarified in the 3D that you etherically and energetically enact and invoke your authority. You implement and recognize, the law of action reaction, and you ensure that the karma is immediately reflected back onto them. And that's important because, that's what they're trying to bypass. So I hope that answers. Tracy says her connection is bad. So if anybody else is having issues with if I'm breaking up, let me know, because it could be mine. Okay, so I'm just going to read a couple more and then I'm going to get back to what I was saying. Yeah, Love Light says it's $300 fine if you don't fill it out. So if you don't, don't want to pay a fine, then fill it out. But fill it out, fill it out in your way. Fill it out in your terms, not their terms. And slip in the declarations that I do not consent signed with it. Attention to whoever it goes to, right? Clarifying this is what you are focusing on. And I would love for them to start to see us sending these in. I would really love for, just dropped my big crystal. Give me a second. My big selenite soap here. I would really love for us to start sending these in along with everything that we have to do in 3D that we don't appreciate. Like, okay, I'm going to play your game, but I'm also going to acknowledge the real game, right? And I'm going to clarify that I know the game, and I'm ensuring that I'm inducting you into the karma that you're trying to place onto me, okay? So let's start making it a common practice where, along with these things we don't like to do, like when we're filling out our IRS papers, we're also assuring that as those papers go out, we're attaching declarations to it. I think that would be fabulous. Okay. Hi, Alexandra. Deb has a question. What are your feelings about the April 4th, the Worldwide Healing Event plans? Yeah, I'm going to talk about that, Deb. Thanks for reminding me. You're welcome, Christiana. Cosmic Kiss says the X next to where you sign your name is a symbol. As above, so below. When you sign something, you're saying as on earth, so in heaven, vice versa. Good freaking point, right? So I wonder if when you sign, especially if you print it out, because a lot of these things now we have like e-signature, if you want to change the symbol. So the X, as above, so below, let's invert the X if you're signing off in a way you don't want to, right? So also you can change the symbology when you send it back in. And maybe you can state next to your signature that you're redacting that. So here's something too, guys. Just on a side note, there's something called glossa text, and they've used this they use it a lot, but what glossa is, it's like if I'm saying it correctly, and there's a channel on YouTube, a gentleman, he's named it Glossa, Glossa, I believe, and he's just, this is what he does. He studies the glossa. And so it's basically the English language official text or written word, even read word, that is what the law follows and is enacted as truth, right? So we all know that we can write things in certain ways, which maybe our English teacher would say that's not very correct. So across the board, with legalese and with like in the Bible, these types of text, glossa is the official as what they go by as truth, okay? Now in glossa, when you capitalize all of the letters, so let's say I write my name Chloe, and in glossa, if I write all caps in Chloe, then in essence, it redacts the word from the print. So there's a story that gentleman gives on his channel where he says, in the version of the Bible, I'm not sure if it's King James, but in the version of the Bible that is used in the courts when you swear on the Bible, they've taken certain excerpts where it speaks about the God of the Bible, and they've glossed it so it redacts it. So basically, they've manipulated the Bible so that when you swear on it, you're not swearing to, the Almighty God that you may believe you're swearing to. They've shifted it so you're swearing to the God that they want you to swear to, which is really interesting because the word God is super general, right? There's lots of gods. There's lots of goddesses. So anyway, I digress. Yeah, I'll talk about the Cosmic Kiss says, there is a way to deactivate the contract. Use your pen and partially tear through the paper. That is the solution. That's interesting. So put a little rip in it. Okay, so the April 4 meditation, I'm absolutely going to do that. I was going to hop on tomorrow and talk about that, but since we're already here, I haven't read the whole thing, but I do know that there is a mass meditation that all of us can do well by participating in on April 4th. And I'll post the post that's going around. And I believe it's only 20 minutes. Now, I would like to hold space as well during that meditation. If you guys want to hop on too, we can do it together. I'm not sure if they're doing like a guided meditation, nor am I clear on whomever is going to be facilitating it, what their beliefs are. I'm hoping that when they do the meditation, if they're actually going to do a guided meditation where they speak, that they're not going to bring in their own personal beliefs, because we all know some of us don't align with certain beings or guides or beliefs. So hopefully they'll keep it super neutral. If any of you guys know if the meditation is actually just where we tune in our own self and hold space for 20 minutes, or if it's actually like get online with whatever they're saying and follow it as somebody is speaking, share that with me. But either way, I think it's a fabulous initiative to do, is for us all to connect and meditate, and of course do it in the way that we want to do it, aligning with our truth, though unifying our hearts. And I was even thinking what would be really cool, especially if it's only 20 minutes long, is I'm gonna hop on a live for it and do it. And again, I'm not sure if we have to follow it if somebody's speaking it. So if that's happening, I'm going to try to figure out how to coordinate on my live that's also happening, even if it's just in the background, because I only have one laptop. And this live platform isn't like Zoom where I can like share my screen, things like that. And then we can continue on in piggybacking on the connection of the heart space and move into a healing once that wraps up, if it's only 20 minutes long. Because if it goes a long time, an hour, I'm not sure I'm going to want to stay on another hour after, or another 30 minutes or something like that. So I'll put a post about it. How about that? Since I'm doing this live right now, we can clarify and do a post. Okay, so Janice says, I've done my secure party creditor UCC1 paperwork. Every time I sign anything under my autograph, I write authorized representative, all rights reserved per UCC1-308. I am not the debtor anymore. Can you clarify, Janice, what that means, what you're writing? That's intriguing, but I don't understand what you mean about authorized representative. So if you want to clarify what you mean about I am not the debtor anymore. I also don't know what UCC1 is, so maybe it's pertaining specifically to that. Hi, Kimberly. Okay, so I'm going to read a couple more and then I'm going to get back to what I was trying to say. In huge tuning in. Love light. Is there dangers involved in a huge tuning in from dark forces? Are you speaking to a danger involved in what? Are you talking about the monies? Clarify that for me. Kimberly, add only for the highest good, so to speak. Yeah, Kimberly, that's true, but I still think that's not enough. I feel like a lot of our general terms that we use, they supersede it. They're trying to keep as non-divisive as possible, dissolve differences. Okay. Oh, okay, Suzanne, thank you. Grace Solaris is doing it. She is silent, and you're supposed to tune in energetically. Cool. Okay, so in that case, if you guys would like, yeah, she's in another country. I would like to hold space on this platform for it. We can all hop on. You're welcome to hop on. We can do it together. Why don't you let me know if you would like to quietly hold space, and or if you would like it to be, if you want me to facilitate a spoken healing through it. I'm open to holding space quietly with y'all, or also, accessing the heart space of it and then speaking through it. So why don't you guys let me know what you'd prefer? Right, 20 minutes indefinitely. And that's funny you say that, because I was just thinking earlier today about it as I was tuning into it now, because we all know time, is um, illusory in whatever dimensionality we're perceiving it, it alters. So I was accessing the energy already, even though, it hasn't happened. Okay, so Infinity Calling. I read the info on the Global Meditation website, and there is no link, no guide. It's just through your internet. Okay, cool. So Christiana says, facilitate. They definitely can use help. Okay, so we got to change text to create some noise at 8:30 for the helpers. So I'll hold space and I'll tune in and guide it, and if you want to be quiet, you don't have to tune in, or you can mute me or whatever. And we'll run over 20 minutes, but we'll make sure we'll access that. And I'll start a little bit earlier, so we can set up. How about that? I'll start earlier so we can set up space and ground, and then make sure we access it. And do this together. And then if we run over into more healing, then so be it. Okay. And I love that my client today pointed out that it's going to be 444. And so accessing 444 through, higher self spirit representation, I think is pretty cool. Okay. Cosmic Kiss. You're talking about the one on the evening of the 4th. Yes, we are. Yes. Well, Kimberly, again, if you can't show up for the specific time they're doing it, remember, you can always tap into Now Moment for when they're, when it's been done or it's going to be done, right? Because it exists throughout all eternity. Okay, so I'm going to stop reading for a while, guys, and then I'm going to get back to my point before I forget, because I tend to forget things real quick. Okay, so, what I was saying is that, and yeah, give me thumbs up, guys. Thumbs up helps in regard to these videos getting seen on YouTube. I would really love to expand my subscribers. It's the only reason I've actually tried to monetize now, is because I get hidden. And I now finally have access to live is only because I tried to monetize. Okay, so what we were talking about is the Easter right now, the resurrection, crucifixion, resurrection energetics. It's a super powerful astrological time. Now, what I got in meditation just today is that another reason, while this is all, hi Selena from Australia, another reason that this is happening right now, and some of y'all might know this, but it grounded in me in a way just in this meditation that I haven't really, I guess, anchored it full enough as a knowing, as opposed to just like having the information, but it didn't really, click. So, and I do know this, I do know that I do resonate with that on every solstice. First of all, this is actual fact that is eloquently brought across by, what's the channel's name? Martin Kenny. He's got a channel, and he talks about how, and again, if you're an astrologer, you might say this better than me, so please chime in. There's 3 days of the solstice period where the sun is no longer moving longitudinally either direction. It's only moving on a latitude. Now, when that happens, that does something with the Van Allen bands, and it makes it super permeable. So every solstice, the veil is absolutely the thinnest for those 3 days. Now, the powers that be know this, okay? So they try to muck about on those 3 days and keep our attention away from it, so we're not tuning in. There is a, and Martin Kenny gave it a term. I'm going to just use the word primary, but he said it in a certain way. So a lot of us also know about the 26,240 years, I think something like that, cycle. So from, I believe if I'm saying it correctly, where when we go from one of the ages, so we're leaving age of Pisces, right, and moving into age of Aquarius, that's a 26,000 year evolution. Am I saying that right? Or is it a 2000? Anyway, but every 26,000 is a huge turning point. It's like an event horizon, which is what we're coming up on. So this June, this solstice is more of a primary veil dropping. The veils are going to be extremely thin and go in and out. So what I got today in session is right now, the frequency fence is dropping. It's happening now. It's super thin. There's not the same matrix energetics imposing on us that keep us from accessing higher frequencies that we like to term more fifth density. So, and this is something also that Magenta Pixie, the White Wing Collective brought up, is that right now what's holding it is our emotions. So if we look at the implementation of the 5G, it's an inversion to the 5D, right? So they want to implement it fast right now because they want to create their new synthetic frequency fence, since the frequency fence is dissolving, it's dissipating. And they're also implementing mass fear-mongering right now to ensure that our emotional state upholds and sustains and maybe even amplifies the lower density that keeps us in the frequency fence. So you take away the ability for the generators on the moon that are failing right now, that hold up the matrix. You take away the quantum computers that are going offline. You take away the actual Van Allen belt frequency fence. And what's left, the only thing that's going to ensure the low density is our creation abilities, our thought forms, our emotions. So implement mass fear-mongering, and you assist yourself to re-erect frequency fence through the emotional, energetic, and thought forms while you're scrambling to upload a new synthetic frequency fence, aka the 5G, aka new quantum computer. So in the interim, our creator abilities are required more than ever to ensure that the veils don't drop so completely, and then we completely awaken, right, as we're moving into this DNA activation right now. And everybody likes to talk about the Great Awakening or the Golden Age, moving into the birthing of the Age of Aquarius, right? So they need to invert that to keep their upper hand. Now, also, we think about, a lot of us have seen, the ships going in and out of the sun. If you haven't, I want to share a video with you. And before I forget right now, super important, I don't know if you guys are watching all of the videos disappearing. I mean, just in the past 2 days, I've watched a handful of videos that were pretty amazing on truthing be taken down. So on that note, I was pretty bummed because one of them I didn't get to finish. If you download, I want to look at it real quick too. If you download the app Clip Grab, this is just one. It's a free app that will allow you to grab clips. And I've grabbed clips of over 2 hours already on it. So when you watch something that you know is like a truthing video or awakening video, or however we want to say it, please download it, because it might disappear in 5 minutes and at least we have it still, right? Because they took down, I mean, I put up a video and I think it might have been, I'm assuming it was because of keywords, and it got taken down in 5 minutes. And then I watched 2 different truthing videos and they were taken down within 24 hours. So they're just taking them down. So let's grab these videos so that we have them, so they don't like disappear forever and we don't know how to access them. So anyway, I digress. So I'm going to clip grab a video that I was sent that is currently posted right now, where a woman was sharing, I guess there's a live stream of the sun, and it's all of the ships going in and out. March 22nd and 23rd was a phenomenal, she paused it on this one shot where, oh my gosh, there's so many ships. So anyway, so what a great way to invert the process of the awareness and the high vibe frequency to not only fearmonger us, to accelerate and streamline the 5G as fast as possible. And that's another reason that I feel that, besides just reading the frequency signature of the stimulus package, is I was told that Trump tried to streamline 5G through it, but it didn't work out. So get 5G up as fast as possible. Do a mass fear mongering. Get everybody indoors and separated so they can't connect with the dielectric magnetic energetics that we naturally create with each other, right? And interact and awaken each other, and connect and celebrate and up level the energies, right? Create, isolate. A lot of us are also registering a lot of uptake in the geoengineering. So right now I'm in British Columbia and I've been told they never have chemtrails here. Well, right now there's geoengineering, which is shocking to them. I'm used to it because I'm from Texas and I was living in LA and it's just everywhere. But they're covering the sky, right? So we can't actually see what's happening. And on top of, not being able to see what's happening because the geoengineering, it's also stay inside. So if any of the solar frequencies and the Schumann resonance that's coming in, you're not going to synthesize it and absorb it, right? So this was my big revelation just earlier, in a way where I anchored it into my knowing. And another reason why, if you guys have been experiencing it, I know that my client and friend this morning is talking about all of the attacks. I know a lot of you guys are actually, because we've talked about it. There's so much more attacking happening. There's so many more beings. There's so much more energies and entities and beings accessing our density, because the freaking frequency fence is dissolving. They can come in. We can go out. So even though that might be very scary when you're under attack and you're feeling all these, if it's demonic forces or whatever coming in and superseding, the law and overriding your free will and doing what they please, they're also doing it and are able to do it because the frequency fence is also what kept them out. So now they can come in. What was I going to say? I was just thinking of something else in that regard and another thing with them being so blatant right now in attack or taking or manipulating or whatever. A lot of them know that their time is up. So they're just blatantly overriding the laws of the game. Okay. And they don't care. Because they're either going to get blasted out of oblivion or they're going to win because it's the final battle in a way, right? So they're just like, whatever, let's just go for it, right? Let's just all in. So they're coming in guns blazing. But my point here is that on top of all of the more micro agendas that we're all paying attention to, and I say micro, and when I say micro, I mean the worldly earth agendas. Let's look at the more macros to our truth and our DNA activation right now, that they're trying to counter that as fast as freaking possible and as thoroughly as possible. So I'm going to pause there and I'll get back to some of the comments here. Okay, Jesse, you ask me, would that period during the solstice affect the type of souls who incarnate during that time? That is a great question. I am willing to bet absolutely it would. If you want to come in and you're able to at this point, I would definitely want to incarnate during the solstice because, as we all know, when we follow our birth charts, the energy you come in with is that much help or hindrance to your life map. So Definitely. It would absolutely give them, I'm going to intuit right now that if they were to come in during solstice time, since they came in, and no matter what, this would stand for now because it's always been that way. Solstice has always been a 3-day period where ever since the frequency fence was placed, which was in the time of Atlantis, as I know it, that's when the veil's the thinnest. So those people would have access to permeating the veils more than most of us. So definitely that would affect them for sure. Okay. Thanks, Love Light. I appreciate that you think it makes sense. So Agent Fox says, what does that mean for TIs? More or less issues? A window to purge? What are TIs? Agent Fox, you asked me all these questions. I don't understand. I don't know what you mean when you say TIs. Can you spell that out? A window to purge and detox like never before? Irene, I noticed that the last 8 hours even, or videos are gone. Yeah. They're just taking them down like crazy, right? It's very annoying. And, exactly, right? Because April 1st starts this 13-day window. So, Danny, will they disconnect the internet for a few days? Is this possible? Oh, yeah, it's absolutely possible. Will they do it? I don't know. Here's something that it's very possible. It's plausible. Though one thing I do want to note is that a lot of us are preparing for the internet and media to go out because there was a Q drop. QAnon talked about, first he was talking about 12 days, which was like April 1st to 2nd through April 12th to 14th. More recently, he's talked about 3 days. And you know how a lot of those drops and a lot of the way they communicate are coded. So my friend texted me today and said that somebody just pointed out that, and I didn't read the Twitter, I just got this text from her that was saying when Q dropped that it was the 3 days of darkness, he didn't say darkness, he said Darnkess, Darnkess. And then somebody said they looked up Darnkess, and it was a story about children being saved at Easter time. So a lot of us already know, too, that one of the agendas that the Illuminati has implemented it's like they're piggybacking on the Cabal agenda to push the eugenics program, right? And so they're piggybacking on that to push through the indictments, right? And take some of these nasty, disgusting pedophiles and pedivores out of the scenario. So there's going to be, I guess, especially in those 3 days, as he's saying, is when they're going to do some mass rescuing of the children. I'm assuming it's actual children right now. But it could also, everything's layered and dimensionally represent the children of Gaia, so us as well. So, but anyway, that's something to note, because it could be very well that we have literal darkness, as in internet darkness. And if the Cabal got their way, it would be electrical grid darkness. Though it might be more plausible at this time that it's more of like a darkness, as I'm saying, the dark night of the soul, right? Or a darkness in regard to the actual physical children that they're going to be saving out of these rings, these pedophile rings. Maybe there's something going on where they put the people who are implementing the rings in the dark so that they can extract the children. So that's just something to note. Agent Fox, they just hid your comments. Sometimes they hold comments, guys, if you put either curse words or maybe sensitive information that they don't want to share. They filter it. So Deb, I just lost a comment. Gina Marie Colvin Hills. Yes, Cosmic Kiss. The video I'm talking about the sun was posted by Gina Marie Colvin Hills. I think it's 3 videos back when I checked earlier today. Okay, Deb says, it's possible, but if they do, everyone will finally become a CT and maybe awaken. I don't know what you're referring to. I think you're answering somebody, so I'll leave that one be. Deb says, I heard sea moss helps for radiation. Well, that's awesome. I believe in everything out of the sea is assisting. I just bought some dehydrated sea kelp, some powdered, and I also bought 2 big bottles of MSM because I really resonated with the interview that Carrie Cassidy did with a gentleman who the freaking, was it the CIA or the FBI? Come on. Put this gentleman through 12 different counts because he imported and sold MSM, right? MSM, he says it's not technically a supplement. I think it's more like a solvent, but if we've never heard of it, I'm going to call it a supplement for lack of a better word. I don't believe it's FDA approved because it's one of those just amazing cure-alls. But he says it's par none for clearing out a lot of the heavy metal toxicities, which we know is one huge implementation from the geoengineering. So I've been taking MSM daily. Daily, I take oil of oregano, activated charcoal, and MSM now. The oil of oregano is just fabulous for antimicrobial, antibacterial, everything. Activated charcoal is something everybody could have in their first aid kit. It absorbs poison. So if you or your children or your animals are ever poisoned, shove activated charcoal down their throat so it absorbs the poison in the body. But I take it daily because it does the same. And then MSM. Okay, you guys are hearing a beeping. So that might be, initially I asked about my background noise because they've got a little solfeggio frequencies playing, but I'll turn that off. And you might also have heard my phone beep because my phone's on right now. Okay, so let's see. If Netflix goes down, that would be good. All shows on there are creepy. Yeah, they are. I tried it for a year. Yeah, especially right now. They're so pushing just the things that are going to trigger you and bring out your alters and move predictive programming. And they like to bury the little fun shows that you can't find them, especially if you're watching on a TV. Alexandra says, I was watching Hocus Pocus the other day, and the first scene of the movie shows a Hold's soul being extracted by 3 witches. Never noticed that before when I watched it right in our faces. What do you mean by a Hold's soul? I don't know what that means. A Hold's soul being. What does that mean? Is that a misspell? Okay, so, and then Cosmic Kiss says fermented skate liver oil will decalcify your pineal. I noticed first night I was taking it. Castor seed oil. Westworld is full of predictive program. Yeah, it's all full of predictive program. Everything that they're putting out right now is just so blatant. So for those of you who just hopped on or didn't hear it earlier, I am going to post about I will also hold space on this platform for the mass meditation that's going to happen April 4. And when we get off, in the description on this live, when it posts, I'll put that mass meditation, what that woman that's facilitating it printed or wrote out, and then I'll also post it. So I will hold space for us if you guys want to hop on while that meditation's happening. And I will get on a little early so we can do a grounding, and then you can let me know during it if you want me to facilitate a healing while we're doing it, or if you want to just be quiet and silent. But either way, it'd be really cool just to be together and hold space for that. I think that would be fabulous. Okay, so that is what I wanted to say. If you guys have any more questions, go ahead and ask them, but I just really wanted to hop on and express my awareness of the frequency fence dissolving. And again, that's going to peak on solstice. And don't be surprised, okay? So because the 3 days of, April 9 to April 12, so from Lent to Easter, because that's such a powerful time. So we're in what I'm terming, we're in 13 days of the dark night of the soul. So this is very powerful. It started April 1st and it ends April 12th, from a peak time for us to really tune in, focus, access the desired experiences. The timelines are truth. Clear and purge what you need to clear and purge, and hold, a really authentic, positive space so that we can really piggyback on this energy. So right now, because I mentioned earlier, we're going through a transit where, I believe it's April 9 to the 12th, is where the astrological crucifixion in resurrection plays out, as per Easter is the allegory, as Jesus Christ is representing that as the actual astrological experience. So right now we're going through a death, guys. We're moving into the last days before the crucifixion happens. Okay. And then we clear and move into that astral space. We absolve our sins, we release, and then we resurrect and we're born again. So this is what this time represents. So slough off right now everything you're done with. Slough off this fear mongering. I'm not really watching too much anymore of the big media. I was paying attention to when Trump was announcing because I wanted to know about the stimulus package, but I was talking about the resurrection period of the 13 days of darkness to a friend, and she mentioned that, I guess Trump's coming on daily and talking right now, but he just announced today, I think she said, that there will be a lot of deaths from now to then. And he also speaks in code. So there could be two things that I pick up on that. One is that because he's playing the Illuminati side, right? So I'm gonna use polarity words here, and I'm gonna term that. So what I perceive this is basically, we're the bystanders, and then we've got Illuminati going head to head with the cabal. So, representation: Jupiter, Illuminati, Saturn, Red Bulls clashing. And then, we're watching, and we're, again, as somebody said, we're the X factors. Janelle had said, we're the X factor, right? So he can be also pushing the agenda to amplify the fear, so that the emotional frequency fence gets held, but also, letting the cabal know, letting those people know that they're about to take down, that there's going to be a lot of deaths, right? And I'm sure there's some other things played into that. But that's what I perceive on that regard. So, okay. And any other questions? Scream Engine. I love your channel. You're great with Sovereign Key too. Love to those talks. Cheers. Thanks, guys. So, and one thing I wanted to note is any of y'all that caught we did a public live. I did a public live with Sovereign Key, and then it got deleted immediately. Not from YouTube, from other factors, but that'll get posted because thankfully we both did it on our channel, and hers was probably better because we're more looking at her camera than mine. Thanks for everybody who participated, and that will be reposted soon on my channel. And you might hear this little kitty in heat in the background. She's been going crazy lately. Okay, Jesse says, what are the chances of intervention from the galactic forces? Oh, I'm glad you asked that because that's something else I wanted to address. So, a lot of us have heard talk of that possibility, and I do want to state that the reason, from my perspective, on the information I already just gave you guys, what I got in my meditation just now, the reason that they could possibly do it right now is because the frequency fence is freaking dissolving, right? So now they actually can, because the frequency fence maintains, like, not anybody can go in and out. It's very particular. It's very specific. So right now, as it's dissolving, that's why there's so much more action we're seeing. I do resonate with what was said on the Cosmic Agency channel. And sorry if you guys hear some background noise. My roommate's doing some dishes. But what was said is that a couple things with the extraterrestrials. Okay, so And it's important to know this because there's a lot of predictive programming around that. We've all seen for years and years and years a bunch of predictive programming around, ships landing from negative ETs that want to come in and take us over or kill us, and we need to go up in arms. Okay, so that's the programming that Damage Inc. I disagree with you. I do perceive Trump 100% as Saint Germain Illuminati. Damage Inc. says Trump is not Illuminati. He is a patriot 100%. My perspective is very different. So, and he is assisting, absolutely. White hat is happening with Trump, but in addition is Illuminati. That's how I perceive it, teach their own. Okay, so the predictive programming has been offered to the masses for years, and we all know this, right? That any ETs ever, they're always portrayed, except for the more recent years, right? Like the movie E.T. and some of now the newer cartoons, animated stuff is finally offered portrayal of extraterrestrials being benevolent or at least neutral. But for the most part, these movies have to do with ETs coming in and them trying to damage and take over and destroy, right? And then Earthlings needing to come up in arms and being very patriotic, to use your word, damaging, and fight off to no avail the extraterrestrials, right? So that's a long set programming that's been placed into mass consciousness. They've done that because one is because if the benevolence were to come, the cabal want the masses to go up in arms against them, right? Because if the benevolence came, the cabal would lose control, right? And they could easily lose control. So one thing is to get the humans up in arms. Another agenda that offers is if people have a mass consciousness perspective of how they feel in general towards ETs. First of all, it's like, well, we don't believe in extraterrestrials. And then it's like, well, if we do believe or if it's possible, we don't want them to come here and take us all out, right? So that agreement on a mass consciousness level offers the belief, and therefore the benevolence, they're not going to impose on that. If the mass consciousness agreement is one that they don't even exist and or they're negative, the benevolence won't impose and supersede onto that collective agreement. Now, the only way that I perceive is that the benevolence will come and make themselves 3D physically known because they've been here. We all know, we talk to them, we experience them, we are them, right? All of us have interactions with them constantly. So in regard to like them showing up and unveiling in a matter like substance, in my opinion, the most plausible way that would happen, and I still find it highly unlikely at this point, is that the controller dark beings would get so hi Wrangle would get so crimes against humanity in such a blatant way that it threatens the game to shut down. Okay, if universal law is broken so thoroughly, the game gets shut down. Okay, and they'll hop in at that point because they don't want the game to get shut down. It's their game too. It's not just us. It's all of us, right? This is more than Earth. So they'll step in at that point and say, oh, no. You're not going to ruin this for everybody. Okay. That's a possibility. I find that highly unlikely. The other possibility of them coming because we have a mass consciousness agreement finally, where we want them to come and we're open to it and we're conscious enough for it, is still unlikely. Hopefully, as this age of Aquarius progresses and a lot of the reals wake up and a lot of the placeholders fall away, or at least our frequency now finally activates up in a way where we're taking our conscious responsibility that is significantly higher than the NPCs and the placeholders, the sheeple anchoring mass consciousness belief systems, mass consciousness agreements. When we finally get to a majority percentage where the reals, where we are the mass consciousness agreement, and we're all in agreement that the NPCs and the placeholders and the soulless ones don't count, right? We don't play that game anymore. Then we can all finally make the agreement and say, yes, of course we're conscious enough, we're mature enough, we're ready to self-govern. Please come and assist. Though I don't perceive that happening soon. That's just me, to each their own. Okay, so let's see. Deb says, divinely aligned never uses fear. They work with love and peace. This pandemic is helping the masses feel and heal. I don't agree with that. So, I mean, in one way, yes, and in one way, no. I don't believe that this pandemic is a requirement for awakening at all. This is activating very intentionally a lot of fear. And as I was talking to my client today, is that this is a awakening time. So either way, awakening is going to happen. Now, we've obviously seen awakening happen through the fear, and it activates, but it doesn't have to happen that way. It can be through a more enjoyable way. Now, I do also believe that there is a purge of the earth. There is a natural cycle. Though I don't want to say concerned, because I want all perspectives to be okay, right? Allowed. Doesn't mean I agree with them. Doesn't mean I want to follow them. Doesn't mean I want them to even exist, though it is what it is. Though I am wary. This actually came up really clearly with me today with a friend that I was communicating with, and getting real clear on her perspective. I'm very wary of, and again, this is just my view, I feel like there's a different veil happening with people that may be seeing this only as supremely benevolent, and feeling like it's required to go through all this hiding and fear-mongering and stuff in order to take certain players out of the game and move through certain agendas and bring forward the golden age. I don't think it is necessary in this way at all. I do think that to change things, there has to be strategy, but there's definitely a malevolent push on anxiety, pain, death, and fear right now. And that's not a requirement. So there's some wonderful things happening right now, and there's some horrible things happening right now. And that's just how I see it. I don't think it has to play out this way, but it is playing out this way. And, we've all kind of collectively chosen it from other perspectives on a macro scale. Though and you guys know this, I mean, I've said it before, I'm very wary of the lesser of the two evils coming in, heralding a golden era with all of these promises. Just sign on the dotted line, and here's your happy life, and here's your monies, and here's this, and here's that. And that'll be all hunky-dory in certain ways for that human timeline. But back here on that soul, infinite spirit experience, you've signed away your soul, or at least pieces of it. So I'm still very concerned with that, because something I want to note here, which I think a lot of us know, but I'm going to say it. For any of us who have studied psychology a little bit and know, the victim narcissist abuse triangle, right? The neural pathways that are created around addiction and obsession. And somebody give me the term, what's it called when you fall in love with your captor? What's the name of that? Where, if somebody, um, um, what's it called? Like, let's say they take you away and they've done something horrible, they've taken you away, but then you thank you, Christiana. Stockholm syndrome, exactly. So we've got the workings of this right now. Mass fear implementation, hope, you know stimulus package, fear, hope, relief, fear. Okay, so they're creating this crazy up and down of emotions all over the place, and in that pattern is super efficient and strategic for anchoring in neural pathways where your brain and your PTSD and your physiology and all the hormones that we've all been producing and moving through, and the stress and all of that, and then a calm and then stress and then a calm, all of this is the workings clear as day to move into addictive cycles of narcissistic victim tendencies. And they're doing it on a mass level. So I just want to acknowledge that, because that's absolutely playing out too. Yeah, Janice, so many timelines. It is crazy. It is definitely, I don't know if this has ever been experienced on this planet for this version, this round. Is it truly is. And people, we're like all so passionate, and, it's like we're so committed to our view and the timeline. But as soon as new information comes up, we're so committed to that one, and it's constantly changing, and every single person has a different perspective. And again, I like the word that Cosmic Agency said. It was like a temporal knot. The timelines have literally fractured. It is crazy. But a thing about that is, we all know, probably, we've all worked on navigating and shifting our own timelines, right? And so it's a lot more difficult. It takes a lot more work to uproot an anchored timeline and then shift it and re-anchor it. It's a lot easier to shift and uproot a timeline. So right now, we're uprooted. We're doing this, right? So it's more efficient for us to anchor the timeline we want, as opposed to have to uproot it. Well, it got uprooted already. So now we can simply focus on the anchoring of it. And as long as we all come together consciously to focus on that, and when I say come together, I mean in astral space, we're constantly working every night. As long as we all hold, our collective agreement around our unifying, that I believe that we all innately do, because we're finally conscious and loving beings, even if we have, even if we have our own personality characteristics or disagreements or beliefs. I feel like anybody who's going to be accessing this type of information is really on point with an overreaching desire for happiness and contentment and peace and unity. And that is more than enough. And now we need to implement that through conscious focus of remembering that our power is great. The frequency fence is dissolving. Our power is tremendous right now. There's less of a lag. So, of course, it's a brilliant time to produce this much loosh and fear to reactivate an emotional frequency fence. Another thing I want to mention real quick. A lot of us know that there's mass looshing happening right now. So something I started focusing on today, around the loosh, I was like seeing it, because they like to funnel it up, right? So it's happening in very specific locations as they're kind of strategically pocketing where the pandemic starts to explode, whatever, in these localized zones. And again, if any of you haven't seen it, place the COVID map over the 5G map, over the indictment map, and look at your perfect matches there. So I watched it, the looshing, it's like going up and they always kind of bring it to an apex so it can be siphoned from these energy vampires to wherever they want it to go. I think that if y'all are tuning in and doing, work to assist, stop that loosh from being accessed, right? I was fragmenting it and capping it so they can't siphon it. Okay, maybe they pull it out and extract it, but I don't think we need to let it get sucked out. We can at least thwart their ability to have a buffet right now. They might take it out of us, which is draining in mass consciousness, but it doesn't mean they're going to get the entire feed that they want. We have the power to do that, absolutely. Well, so Love Light says, ninth dimensional mantoid beings have stated clearly they could cure every single disease humans suffer from. I'm sure they could, because most diseases are man-created. But I'm just going to put out a warning. Not all mantoids are positive by any means, so take care with them. A lot of them are, but a lot of them aren't, and they're pretty smart in hiding that agenda. Okay, so I'll read a couple more, and then I'm going to sign off, mate. Us as light workers, everyday people, what's our role? Meditate and love. Is it working in all the timelines? There is an overload of information. So I don't know how long you've been on the live right now, but the reason I came on was to say that the frequency fence is dissolving. We create collectively this matrix. Our beliefs, our minds, our thought forms, our experience in interfacing with matter and density is what ultimately keeps this matrix going. So absolutely, yeah, you as a light worker, as an everyday person, your love, your heart, it's super important. It is what keeps this going. So how are we going to gear that? And right now, it very simply put, the equal opposite of something neutralizes it. Okay, so we've got mass fear. The equal opposite, love and consciousness and awareness and focus and knowing, neutralizes it. And it is, as we say it, it's as easy as that. So let's cultivate that and let it be okay. And that's another reason why forgiveness is huge right now. So important to have forgiveness, because we're all upset. We're all triggered. And so it makes it more difficult to hold our knowingness, right? And I'm not saying while holding your knowingness, don't be prepared. Don't be okay in knowing that you may need to scramble and take care for disaster. I mean, we got some real stuff going down right now. It's coming out of left field constantly and surprising us. So we need to be prepped for that. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. But while that's all happening, we can continue to forgive the energy that's coming up and who we perceive bringing it to us or out of us, and also continue to implement our consciousness and our love and our awareness. Yeah, Deb, not many want to sit at home for weeks. I get it. And that's another part of the plan is isolation and solitude, and keep us from connecting and linking and having fun and enjoying ourselves. So again, we're on day 2 of the 13 days of the Dark Night of the Soul. It's going to culminate on April 9 to the 12th, April 9, 10, 11, and 12. And those are very powerful days to hold really high space, but this is a wonderful time for us all to focus and tune in daily and connect with self and offer love and light up. It may be a really important time to avoid any of the fear mongering. I mean, we've looshed enough, guys. We've looshed so much. Thwart the loosh. I love you guys. You're welcome. Thank you all for tuning in. And again, I might not do it right now. I might do it tomorrow, but in the description of this, I'll add the beautiful meditation that wonderful facilitator has manifested so many of us coming together. And I'll also hold space for our little community for that meditation on April 4. And I'll post about it as well tomorrow. Okay, have a great night. Thank you for joining me. Bye.